Hello and welcome to your Fantasy Premier League one-stop shop. I'm your host Stephen Gallagher, world number 3 in points totals over the past 3 seasons. Today we're looking at all the key points for Game Week 37, chip strategies, free hit draft, players to target, fixtures to target, captaincy and more. If you've been watching on YouTube and have been enjoying the videos, then consider subscribing. We're still aiming for 5,000 subscribers by the end of the season, so join the community if you haven't already. Let's get straight into it, starting with the chip strategies. Starting with the assistant manager chip, I think the 3 best options this game week are Graham Potter with Forest at home, which is a table bonus opportunity, then Ipswich away. He could be a nice pick. But if you want a safer pick, then I think Emery is the one to go for. He has Spurs at home, then Man United away. Neither are table bonus opportunities, but Villa are aiming for that Champions League spot. They have a lot to play for, while Spurs and Man United don't have a lot to play for. They're focusing on the Europa League final. And then finally, I think Hurtzler is another good shout. He has Liverpool at home for a table bonus opportunity. The Liverpool team has been partying in Dubai. They're quite literally on the beach, so this could be a great opportunity for Brighton to grab 3 points, and then they play Spurs away, so another good fixture there. So those are my favorite picks for assistant manager, and make sure to use it this week if you haven't already. If you still have your triple captain chip, then these are the best options in my opinion. Watkins this week is probably my favorite pick. He's in good form, 3 goals in 5 games. Up against a shaky Spurs defence, focusing on the Europa League, and Villa are chasing that Champions League spot, so he's a great shout for triple captaincy. And another option is to wait until next week and use it on one of Saka against Southampton away, or Bowen against Ipswich away. But in my opinion, the best time to use it is on Watkins this week, because we never know what team a manager will put out on the last game of the season, depending on if the table is wrapped up by then or not. If you plan to use your free hit this week, then I'd go for something like this. We've gone for Pickford in nets and Mykolenko in defence. It's the Everton defensive double up against Southampton at home, then Cucurella against Man United at home, and Aitnery against Crystal Palace away, as Palace will only have 3 days to recover from their FA Cup match, and Aitnery is playing as a winger essentially, so I really like the look of that defence. In the midfield, we have Bowen against Forest at home, Palmer against Man United at home, Mbeumo against Fulham at home, and Asensio against Spurs at home as a nice differential. And in the attack, Haaland against Bournemouth at home. City are still fighting for that Champions League spot. I know they won't have had much time to recover from the FA Cup match, but the fact that Haaland is a differential is too good to turn down. Next to him, it's Watkins, the best pick of the week and probably most people's captain. And then finishing off the starting 11, it's Jamie Vardy, chasing that 200th goal for Leicester. And then on the bench, we have Martinez, Neto, Wan-Bissaka and Aina. And there you have it. I really like the look of this free hit, and the funny thing is I only have 1 player from this free hit in my actual team, and that's Jarrod Bowen, who I'm very happy to own, but it says a lot about my team this week and how it's looking, but we'll get to all that later. For now, let's move on to defenses to target. On to defenses to target, ranking teams using our fixture difficulty and defensive strength ratings. First in the rankings are Everton. They play Southampton at home this game week, which is a really nice fixture. Then Newcastle away next game week, which isn't ideal. If you're going to get an Everton defender in, it's got to be this week, and you'd probably want to be able to bench them the following game week. From them, Mykolenko is the one that I'd go for. Third in the rankings are Nottingham Forest. Their fixtures are okay. West Ham away this game week, then Chelsea at home. However, their defensive data hasn't actually been amazing, honestly. But if you fancy these fixtures, then Nico Williams is the best option in terms of budget options, and Milenkovic is another good pick with his attack and threat from set pieces. 11th in the rankings are Man City. Quite low down, but I do fancy their fixtures, and the fact that they're fighting for that Champions League spot. This does come with some risks, as they only have 3 days to recover from the FA Cup final against Palace before this match. But I don't mind them as a pick if your defence isn't looking good. Gvardiol is the one to go for from them, and Ruben Dias has also been getting really consistent minutes recently. On to attacks to target. There's a lot to choose from here, so I'm going to go down through the list. First in the rankings are Aston Villa. They've got this Spurs fixture at home, arguably one of the best fixtures from an attacking perspective this week. Spurs will likely rest their starting defenders again. They've got nothing to play for in the league, and Aston Villa have everything to play for with a Champions League spot on the line. All three of these guys are great picks. Watkins will probably be the most captain player this game week. Rodgers, he's been so consistent all season, and Asensio is a bit of a risk minutes-wise, but a nice differential pick. Third in the rankings are Chelsea. Man United at home is another great fixture. Same thing as with Spurs. Man United will likely rest a lot of key players, and Chelsea are fighting for a Champions League spot. Chelsea also don't have a striker right now, which is why all three of these guys become a bit more interesting from an FPL perspective. Neto could play up top like he did earlier in the season with Jackson out, which would push Enzo up into a more attacking role and Palmer onto the right, or alternatively, Palmer could just play as a false 9. Fourth in the rankings are Bournemouth. The City fixture this week isn't great, but then it's Leicester at home. Kluivert, Semenyo and Evanilson are all great picks to end the season and could all be huge, even differential captaincy shouts on that last game of the season. Sixth in the rankings are Arsenal. The league isn't wrapped up yet and it's all that Arsenal have to play for now. Newcastle isn't a great fixture to attack, but I could see Saka or Martinelli getting something there, and we're really mainly looking at that Southampton fixture in 38 where Saka will probably be the biggest captaincy pick. Seventh in the rankings are Forest. Wood and Elanga both returned last game week and Gibbs White picked up a double-digit haul. Forest still have a lot to play for in the league and the fixtures are definitely there for them, with West Ham away, then Chelsea at home. Eighth in the rankings are Everton. Southampton at home this game week, then Newcastle away next. We're definitely focusing on this Southampton game and not so much the Newcastle game. But if you can get the likes of Beto or Dwight McNeil in this week as a nice punt, but then bench them the next game week, I like the look of that for a differential pick. 10th in the rankings are West Ham. I really like their fixtures here. With how leaky Forest have been recently, I'm genuinely considering Bowen as a captain this game week. And then West Ham play Ipswich away in Game Week 38. The fixtures are great. Bowen's in great form with 4 goals and 2 assists in the last 6 games. You could actually captain him in both of these remaining games, and to be honest, he's probably my favourite midfield transfer in this game week. 11th in the rankings are Leicester, but they rank first in the fixture difficulty rating with Ipswich at home and Bournemouth away. I love the Vardy shout. He's 1 goal away from 200 goals for Leicester. It's his swan song in the Premier League. And then Buonanotte is a huge differential pick. His minutes aren't guaranteed, but he scored last game week and looked quite lively. 14th in the rankings are Ipswich. They rank 2nd in the fixture difficulty rating after Leicester. They play Leicester away, then West Ham at home. If you fancy a big differential pick, then Delap and Enciso are the ones to go for from them. 15th in the rankings are Brentford. I'm surprised the model doesn't like their fixtures. Fulham at home, then Wolves away. I've been saying to buy in Bumo and or Wissa the past few game weeks, and I still think they're great pickups this game week. With all the forward options, I think Wissa has gone slightly under the radar after his blank last game week, but he scored 4 games in a row before that, and with these fixtures, he's definitely one to consider along with Mbumo. And finally, 17th in the rankings are Wolves, and Cunha is the one to go for from them. The fixtures are good as they play a tired Crystal Palace away, then Brentford at home. Both teams do concede a lot of goals, and then Cunha has a lot of eyes on him with a lot of big clubs targeting him for a transfer this summer, so he'll want to end the season strong. On to captaincy, and in my top spot, it's Watkins against Spurs at home. No surprises there. He's in good form, 3 goals in the last 5 games. Up against a shaky Spurs defence, focusing on the Europa League, and Villa are chasing that Champions League spot. He's a great shout for captaincy and will probably be the most captain player this game week. In second, I've got Bowen against Forest at home. He's in great form with 4 goals and 2 assists in the last 6 games, and with how leaky Forest have been recently, I think he is a genuine captaincy shout this game week. In third, I've got Mbumo against Fulham at home. Fulham rank 14th for expected goals conceded over the past 10 game weeks, and Brentford ranks 6th for expected goals, so a really good matchup for Mbumo here. I fancy him to return this game week. In fourth, I have Palmer against Man United at home. Man United would likely rest a lot of key players, and Chelsea are fighting for that Champions League spot. Chelsea also don't have a striker, which means Palmer playing as a false 9 is a slight possibility, and if he does, then Palmer captaincy is definitely a shout. And then finally, in fifth, I've got Jamie Vardy against Ipswich. He's gunning for that 200th Leicester goal. I can see him doing it, and I really hope that he does. He's an absolute legend of the Premier League, and he deserves a proper send-off, so hopefully he can do it this game week against Ipswich. On to my game week 36 review. 62 points all out, a green arrow up to 195k. Lads, I triple captained De Bruyne against Southampton, and he played the full 90 minutes. If you told me that before the deadline last week, I would have jumped for joy. Man City were on a 5-game win streak with 12 goals in the previous 5 games, and Southampton hadn't won a game in 12 games and hadn't kept a clean sheet in the Premier League in 18 games. No clean sheets in 18 games. The stars aligned perfectly for this Kevin De Bruyne triple captaincy to just save my season, and the game ends 0-0. That pretty much sums up my season from an FPL point of view, but enough of that. In terms of the good news this game week, I got Wood in for Marmouche. He picked up 8 points, but my defense really carried me this game week, picking me up 26 points. And if I played a Stupinian over Van Dijk, it would have been even better, as Bowen, Sarr and Wood were my only attackers to return this game week. So all things considered, with the KDB triple captaincy an absolute bust, I still ended on a green arrow. Let's take a look at how I'm lining up for game week 37. Looking at this team, I think the obvious issues for this game week and the rest of the season are Van Dijk in defence, with Liverpool have been partying in Dubai and are literally on the beach. I don't really see clean sheets for them in the next 2 games. And then Sarr and Mateta in attack. We're not sure how much rotation we'll see, with Palace prioritising the FA Cup. And then Merino got sent off, so he's not even playing this game week. But he does have Southampton in game week 38, so I am considering holding him in the off chance that he plays up top in that game. Based off all of this, the most obvious transfer for me is Mateta to one of Wissa, Evanilson or Vardy, but a large part of me wants to get Watkins in, and that would mean taking a hit because I can't go straight from Mateta to Watkins. So I'm currently considering these moves to fund Mateta to Watkins, and that's Sarr to Enzo for a -4, with the hope that Enzo plays in the 10, as Chelsea could play Neto as a striker and Palmer on the right. I could also do Merino to Sade for a -4, or I could do Van Dijk to Aït-Nouri for a -4 and just sort out this defense. I'm currently most likely to do the Mateta and Sarr to Watkins and Enzo move, but I might still just play it safe and do Mateta to Wissa or Evanilson or even Vardy, in which case I'll obviously have to make a decision on which forward to get in. So a lot to think about there. If you want to see what I end up going for, then tune in to my deadline stream 1 hour before the deadline at 5 p.m. UK time on Friday. So that's all for today, folks. Go ahead and drop a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and rate 5 stars if you're listening on audio on Apple or Spotify. We're still aiming for that 5,000 subscribers by the end of the season. We're so close, so join the community if you haven't already. Until next time, guys, have a good one.